How's it going, peeps? It is now time for the RAW results slash highlights and review video. I'll go over the results, some of the highlights in my opinion, and give you guys my thoughts, my review on the show. So it kicks off with the Authority coming out, and they introduced a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, John Cena, and they say they always thought he was an A+ player. So John Cena comes out, he's got like both championships around his neck, and when the Authority talks to John Cena, they're all nice, and you know, it doesn't seem like the Authority of Money in the Bank, because at Money in the Bank they looked disappointed when Cena won, but here they're all nice to Cena, saying that they knew he would win, this and that. And they even show the cover of WWE 2K15, and John Cena's on the cover to commemorate his, 15th title reign as WWE Champion. So, after that, John Cena actually brings up Daniel Bryan, and he says that, once Daniel Bryan comes back, he says he's going to come back stronger than ever, but he knows that the Authority is probably not going to give Daniel Bryan a shot at the title, but that John Cena will. And then he also brings up the fact that the Authority is acting way too nice right now, and he shows a picture of Money in the Bank where the Authority looked disappointed that John Cena won the championship. And then Stephanie says that picture was taken out of context, and the reason they were looking like that was because of, the gash on Randy's head when he was busted open. And then after that, John Cena kind of, he talks the way he used to when he had his previous gimmick, the Doctor of Thugonomics. And Triple H mocks him, talks like him, and then he tells Cena they have no problem with him being on the cover of the video game, or being in movies, or even being the champion, but he has to do those things with respect. And he tells Cena he can either do this the easy way or the hard way. Cena says, he always does it the hard way, and Triple H says, good, because, he'd be disappointed if Cena would have it any other way. And then he announces right away that at Battleground, John Cena will defend the championship in a fatal 4-way. And Stephanie says, oh, there's nothing, harder than that. And he announces his opponents, or actually he tells John Cena that you're actually going to be facing off against two of your opponents tonight, and those two opponents will be Kane and Randy Orton, and your partner will be the third participant in that fatal 4-way, or fourth participant, and that is Roman Reigns. And then once Cena's leaving, Triple H tells him, hey Cena, if you do manage to survive the fatal 4-way at Battleground, keep in mind that there's always a plan B. And that's when Seth Rollins' music hits, and he comes out, and he's there on the stage right next to Cena. Cena looks on to him, or looks at him, and then Seth Rollins heads to the ring because he's in the first match against Rob Van Dam. And they have a pretty good match. You even had Rob Van Dam counter Seth Rollins' attempt at the powerbomb in the corner into Hurricane Rana, sending Seth Rollins face first onto the turnbuckle. In the end, though, Rob Van Dam hits a crossbody from the top turnbuckle to the outside on Seth Rollins, and when he sends it back in the ring and goes after him, Seth Rollins grabs RVD's leg, twists it, and slams it right on the rope, and then once RVD's in the ring, he follows it up with the curb stomp for the 3 counts and the victory. After the match, we see Dean Ambrose, actually, before Dean Ambrose, we get Renee Young get some, trying to get some words from Seth Rollins. She refers to him as Seth Rollins, and he tells her to get it right. It's Mr. Money in the Bank Seth Rollins, and he talks about, how he's gonna win the championship, gas in the briefcase, this and that, the usual. And then Dean Ambrose appears on Titantron, and he tells Seth Rollins that, obviously Plan A failed for the Authority, that's why they resorted to Plan B, which was having Uncle Kane come out and take Dean Ambrose off the ladder so Seth Rollins could grab the briefcase. But he says, you know what, I'm not even mad about what happened. Actually, it's more fun that way, because now, whenever you try, this is Dean Ambrose talking to Seth Rollins, he tells Seth Rollins, whenever he tries to cash in that briefcase, Dean Ambrose will be there and will stop him or ruin it for him. And then Ambrose music hits and Rollins is in the ring. He's upset. He's yelling out, it's my time. And I thought that this was pretty interesting. So now whenever Seth Rollins can cash in, I think for a while we'll probably see Ambrose, putting a stop to those plans. I wonder if it leads to disqualification when Seth Rollins eventually cashes in, or maybe Seth Rollins gets like Kane or somebody to take care of Ambrose backstage, attack him or something while Rollins cashes in. I don't know, but it makes things pretty interesting here. But anyways, following that, Rusev came out with Lana. They cut their usual promo. And then they ask, who's going to be the next American to step up to Rusev or challenge Rusev. And I'm not lying here. I 100% expected Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter, the real Americans. And I was right. So, the music hits and Zeb Coulter, Jack Swagger come out. And they're face to face with Lana and Rusev. Zeb Coulter tells Lana, do you know why you can say the things you say and I can say the things I say? That's because, freedom of speech and this country allows it. And then he says, I wouldn't be able to say, what I feel in your country or the things I say. And he also says he also calls Rusev Boris and Lana Natasha. And when he was referring to Lana, he says, Lana, if that is your real name. Like, I think he said that before to Renee Young as well. But, yeah, he also tells Lana, and I also disagree about one thing, and that is that nobody can stop Rusev. He says he thinks a real American can stop Rusev, and he points to Swagger. And the crowd at this point, they're cheering for Zeb Coulter, they're cheering for Swagger. They actually start chanting, let's go Swagger, let's go Swagger. And it looks like there's about to be a fight, but since it is like the first encounter between a face and a heel, the heel always like pretends like he's about to fight, but he pulls back, or in this case, his manager or her manager, actually his manager pulls him back, so Lana tells Rusev not to fight, and it looks like they're about to leave, but then Rusev charges Swagger, and Swagger hits 2 arm drags in a row. I was hoping maybe for a clothesline out of the ring, or a slam or something like that. I mean, an arm drag? Come on. Should have been something cooler. But anyways, he hits 2 arm drags, and then Rusev gets out of the ring or rolls out the ring. He starts raging, wanting to go back, but Lana's, pushing him back, or, preventing him from going in the ring. And Swagger stands tall in the ring as his music hits. It was a pretty cool moment. So I guess Swagger is now a face. And I'm looking forward to this feud. Afterwards, the Usos teamed up with Sheamus to take on the Wyatt family. In the end, Luke Harper got the win for his team with the discus clothesline on one of the Usos. And after that, Tom Phillips interviewed Nikki Bella about Brie Bella bringing Brie Bella to the arena last night at Money in the Bank. Stephanie McMahon interrupts, and she tells Nikki Bella that tonight she's facing off against the Funkadactyls. And then she's like, oh, but that's right, Brie Bella's no longer here, she's fired, So I guess that match is going to be a handicap match, and she tells Nikki Bella to get ready because the match is next. Then after that, Bo Dallas comes out, and he says, let's have a moment of silence for 2 superstars that can't compete right now, and those 2 superstars are Bad News Barrett and Daniel Bryan. And then he gets down on one knee, and he stays there for a while. It was like, I don't know, 2 minutes or something like that, or 2 minutes and 30 seconds, just 2 minutes of quiet, of silence, except for Jay the King Lawler saying that's enough, and JBL saying, no, we're paying tribute, or, paying our respect, or something like that to these 2 superstars that can't compete. And then once he gets up, he says, last night he gave Daniel Bryan some encouragement, but he was also the bigger man. And then he shows footage of yesterday where Daniel Bryan called him a boner, or said he was acting like a boner, and told him to Bo leave. And then after the footage is shown, he tells everybody, don't stop Bo leaving. And then Nikki Bella's music hits. She comes out for a matchup against the Funkadactyls. And in the match, Cameron started off with Nikki Bella. And in the beginning, Cameron had the advantage, but then Nikki Bella started getting the momentum. So Cameron just cowered away and towards the corner, but Naomi was the one to tag herself in. And then Nikki charges Naomi while she's still on the apron, but Naomi hits her with a kick, and then she climbs up the turnbuckle, hits a crossbody on Nikki Bella. And a few moments afterwards, Naomi hits a reverse DDT into an elbow. Pretty much Gregory Helms and the Hurricanes' former finishing move, the Eye of the Hurricane. But of course, it's probably not called that when she uses it. But I don't know if she has a name for it or not. So yeah, she hits that, wins the match. After the match, Cameron gets back in the ring and she's frustrated. She turns Naomi around and she gets in her face. Naomi pushes her and it looks like they might fight or something, but that was it for that. And following that, we get an update on Barrett's injury, and apparently Barrett will be out for a couple of months, which really sucks. And because of that, they also announced that the Intercontinental Championship is now vacated, and that at Battleground, there's going to be a Battle Royal to determine a new Intercontinental Champion. Paul Heyman then comes out to introduce Cesaro. Of course, he goes over how Brock Lesnar broke the streak, and how Cesaro won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And then he introduces Cesaro as the next Intercontinental Champion. He comes out for a match against Kofi Kingston. We see like a little Tron or whatever while Kofi's making his entrance, where you have like Kofi talking about the Battle Royal, so it looks like Kofi's also going to be in that match. So they end up having a pretty good match. Some cool spots in the match. You had Kofi hitting a flipping senton from inside the ring to the outside on Cesaro. You had Kofi going for a springboard move on Cesaro, and Cesaro catches him. In the beginning, I thought he was going to catch him with the uppercut, but actually, he caught him on his shoulders and then turned it into a backbreaker. Now, something interesting here is the finish of the match actually happened on the WWE app, where Cesaro had Kofi in like an electric chair position, but Kofi turned it around and countered it into a roll-up, got the 3 count. After the match, Cesaro, upset, he attacks Kofi, and he beats him up pretty bad. He beats him up outside the ring, in the crowd. At some point, he tries to throw Kofi onto the steel steps, but Kofi actually jumps over the steps, and then he comes back, jumps on the steps, tries to jump on Cesaro, but Cesaro catches him this time with the uppercut, and then grabs Kofi and throws him over the announcer's table onto Michael Cole, knocking down Cole, and then he continues on the attack on Kofi. I think at the end, he grabbed Kofi's arms from like the other side of the ring and kept slamming Kofi like chest first onto the steel post. And then after that, they had like a backstage segment where Santino has like a party but nobody's there, and then Adam Rose comes in and he's like, oh, nobody's here because you don't have this iced tea. It was pretty much an obvious advertisement for some iced tea. And then we get Vince McMahon's music playing. People are thinking Vince McMahon's coming out, but actually it's Damien Sandow coming out dressed as Vince McMahon. He cuts a promo acting like Vince. He says, you know, he knows talent. Talent like Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, and then he says, and the most, you know, the one with the most talent, one you ignoramuses are too ignorant to appreciate, and that is Damien Sandow. And then he also announces that he is entering Damien Sandow into the Battle Royal for the Intercontinental Championship, and that if anybody has a problem with that, then they're fired. And then he says it like Vince. And then Stephanie appears on Titantron. She's mad because Damien is impersonating or, you know, pretending to be Vince. And she says, Vince, you know, Mr. McMahon, he built this business by toppling giants, so tonight Damien Sandow will have to do the same thing. And then Great Khali's music hits, and he comes out for a match against Damien Sandow. The match lasted like, I don't know, 6 seconds, maybe? 7 seconds, something like that. It might be the quickest match in Raw history. It was just Damien Sandow going up to Khali hitting the chop and quickly going for the cover, getting the 3 counts. So I'm not sure if this was the quickest win on Raw or not. Because I know, like, the most recent, like, quickest win on Raw was somewhat recent, was Sheamus versus Zack Ryder for the WWE Championship when Sheamus was champion. But anyways, after that, it was time for the big return of a former WWE champion. And throughout the night, they were showing like a limo, and that limo eventually, the door opened up, but we didn't see who was coming out. And, you know, I had a feeling that maybe they would show us. So anyways, Justin Roberts introduces the returning champion, and it ends up actually being The Miz, not Chris Jericho. So at that point, the crowd's pretty upset. And The Miz, he comes out with like a white suit, talks about how he just finished shooting for the Marine 4, a blockbuster movie, this and that. He says he's a movie star, and you know, they appreciate him a lot more than the WWE Universe. And people, you know, if people are wondering why The Miz is back, Well, it's because he wants to show everyone that he's not a fluke, he's not just somebody that main evented WrestleMania once and is no longer main eventing, and that he's not gonna leave until he main events WrestleMania once again, and that the people are begging for him not to leave. And then we get Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's music hits, and the crowd goes crazy. Crowd goes wild. Jericho comes out with, the jacket, the lighting jacket, and he gets in the ring, and then he doesn't say anything for a while. The Miz tells him, what is this? Do you think you're back in 2002 whatever when you returned and you don't talk? You're trolling us or whatever? And the Miz keeps on talking, and eventually Chris Jericho just hits him. Oh, and Jericho was talking about Chris Jericho's jacket, the jacket that lights up. Jericho took it off, and then the Miz like, oh, you took off your jacket now, blah, blah, blah. And then Jericho out of nowhere hits him with a code breaker. And then Jericho grabs the microphone and says, oh, that felt great. And now he says, I've been waiting a long time to say this, but tonight, Raw is, Jericho. And then Wyatt family signal, lights go out, lights come back on, and we get the Wyatt family surrounding Jericho. They're in the ring. They attack Jericho, both Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, with a body splash in the corner. Eric Rowan sends Jericho towards Luke Harper. Luke Harper hits him with a discus clothesline. And then they pick him up for Bray Wyatt, who hits Sister Abigail on Jericho. And then after that, it was Fandango versus Dolph Ziggler. And in the match, Summer Rae came in, and she got in the ring. And then she was looking at Dolph Ziggler while Fandango was slowly getting back up. And then she kisses Dolph. And then Fandango looks kind of, confused. And he's like, Summer, what are you doing? And Summer turns around, but then Dolph turns her back around and he kisses her, and then Fandango doesn't look like he's approving of it, and then Summer Rae gets out of the ring, and Fandango looks at her, and he's distracted, so Ziggler hits him with the zigzag, covers him, and wins the match. So it looks like Fandango is not over Summer Rae. And then it was a tag team rematch from Money in the Bank and Raw. It was Goldust and Stardust versus Ryback, so once again, except this time, Curtis Axel was not wearing the attire he had at Money in the Bank, which I think is good, because the attire he had at Money in the Bank, it just didn't fit him. It looked weird. Anyways, yeah, Stardust and Goldust pick up the win, and after that, Paige comes out, and pretty much she cuts a promo saying she proved all the naysayers wrong, and that she, deserves to hold the championship, and it wasn't a fluke, and that she's here to stay. And then AJ's music hits to a big pop, so there's another return. AJ returns, and she skips around the ring a few times and gets in the ring, and she tells Paige, you know what, you're right, you do deserve, to be champion, and that she was wrong, AJ was wrong, and she also congratulates Paige, and then Paige says, you think I'm stupid? This is the exact same thing I did to you the first night, I was on Raw. You're doing the exact same thing here. And she tells AJ if she thinks, her congratulating Paige and all that is gonna get her a championship match, just like it did for Paige when Paige made her debut, then that's not gonna happen because Paige is not gonna make the same mistake as AJ did. And then Paige says, and besides, nobody here wants to see me defend the championship tonight. And the crowd actually disagrees with that, and so Paige says fine, and she actually puts the championship on the line, and they have a championship match right then and there. Match lasts maybe like 1 minute, and it was right from the get-go, it's dominated by Paige with a big boot, like her grabbing AJ's head and slamming it on the mat, and eventually AJ gets up after Paige is like, this is my, my place now or whatever. AJ slaps Paige and then quickly rolls her up, gets the 3 count, wins the match, gets out of the ring. The referee goes and gives her the championship, and she celebrates. And that's it for that. So AJ is the new Divas champion. After that, it was time for the main event, which was John Cena and Roman Reigns versus Kane and Randy Orton. Now in this match, towards the end, John Cena and Kane were the 2 legal men. John Cena hits a 5-knuckle shuffle on Kane, and then he prepares for the attitude adjustment, and then Randy gets in the ring, he turns Cena around, hits the RKO on him, but then Roman Reigns comes in, He grabs Randy, he throws him out of the ring, and then he hits a Superman punch on Kane, goes out of the ring, and starts brawling with Randy on the outside. He chases Randy to the back, and from then on, we don't see Roman for a while. And then afterwards, we see Kane and John Cena on the outside. Kane grabs the steel steps, and he hits John Cena with the steel steps, causing a disqualification. And then he grabs John Cena, puts him back in the ring, and hits him with a tombstone piledriver. After he does that, the medics check up on John Cena, and Triple H also gets in the ring. He grabs John Cena's arm, and grabs it, puts it up, and then lets it go down. And then pretty much he sees that John Cena's out. So he signals for somebody to come out, obviously Seth Rollins. So Seth Rollins' music hits, he comes out with the briefcase. He wants to cash it in. Him and Triple H tell the referee, come on, let's go, grab the briefcase, ring the bell, this and that. Referee's kind of, he's like, come on, Cena's out or whatever, not wanting to do it, but he has to do it. So anyways, he gets out of the ring along with, and I'm talking about the referee. Referee gets out of the ring, Triple H too, and Kane as well to pursue the referee to, ring the bell, while Seth Rollins stays in the ring. And then Dean Ambrose, we hear the crowd cheering. That means somebody's running down the ramp. And it is Dean Ambrose, as promised. Whenever Seth Rollins tries to cash in, he's going to ruin it for Seth Rollins, and that's what he did. Goes in the ring, goes right after Seth Rollins, punches Seth Rollins a bunch of times. They get out of the ring. Seth Rollins is just running away from Ambrose. Ambrose, throws him, I believe, in the crowd. Seth Rollins keeps running away, and Dean Ambrose chases him away. And then back at ringside, Kane and Triple H, or actually Kane, gets back in the ring with a steel chair. Triple H is on the apron, and it looks like Kane, is preparing to hit John Cena with the chair, but instead, Roman Reigns comes back in the ring, and he hits the spear on Kane, and then he stares down Triple H, who's on the apron, and Triple H, at this point, he's still holding the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he's on the apron. Him and Reigns are staring each other down, and then Triple H, points to the stage, I guess, telling Reigns to leave, but Reigns just stays there, and eventually Triple H gets off the apron, and Reigns' music hits, and that's it for the show. So, highlights of the show. Man, highlights, definitely Chris Jericho returning. It looks like, in the beginning I thought, that his, first feud back would be with The Miz. But then when the Wyatt family came in, it looks like Chris Jericho's back to feud with the Wyatt family, which I prefer, because Jericho versus The Miz, I don't know. It wasn't that interesting to me. But Jericho versus Bray Wyatt could be pretty cool. We'll see. Also, AJ Lee returning. That was pretty cool. Another cool moment there, and also AJ winning the Divas Championship. So now, AJ and Paige have this thing where they've both gotten the better of each other in a surprise environment. The titles change on their first night or first night back in the case of AJ. It'll be interesting to see what happens at Battleground, because I'm assuming there's going to be a title match between the two, if AJ's going to return, or if we're going to see another title change between the two. Also, what else was there? Oh yeah, Swagger turning face. I thought that was pretty cool. I was looking for that to happen, for the Real Americans to confront Lana and Rusev. It just makes sense, with Rusev doing the whole anti-US thing, and then you have the Real Americans stand up for the US. This should be cool. This should, and it's the first time we see Swagger as a face. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I was wondering, what would be, their first feud after Big E. And then, when on Raw, Lana says, who's going to be the next one to step up to Rusev. For some reason, right away clicked, and I was like, I think it's going to be, Jack Swagger. And it was. And, they kind of teased that at the Rumble when Rusev made his debut. Also, I like how this Raw, there was a lot of storyline progression, and they got the matches for Battleground, at least 2 of the matches announced right away. So from now till Battleground, it's just, build up towards those matches. The matches aren't at the last moment or anything. There's a Battle Royal for the Intercontinental Championship. We know Kofi's in it. We know Cesaro's in it. I think Dolph's in it too. I'm not sure. And also the Fatal 4-Way for the championship. And them teasing that Seth Rollins is going to cash in. And now with Dean Ambrose also telling Seth Rollins that, whenever you try and cash that in, I'm gonna ruin it for you or stop you. That also adds like another cool element in the whole thing, because now you're not only thinking, all right, does Seth Rollins cash in now? And then if Seth Rollins does come out, okay, does Dean Ambrose come out anytime soon to interrupt? And if he is he going to be successful, or is, I don't know, Kane going to stop him or something like that? Also, there were some cool matches on Raw. I enjoyed Cesaro versus Kofi. I enjoyed the Seth Rollins versus RVD match. It was just, overall, it was a cool Raw. And we had 3 returns on this Raw. Jericho, The Miz, AJ. The one I'm happy about the most is definitely Jericho. Afterwards, AJ Lee. As far as The Miz's return, I think, as far as my reactions for his return, I'll have to wait and, see where this new gimmick goes. And, they had also the Funkin' Tag Titles. The breakup looks like it's getting closer and closer now. There's probably going to be a match between the two at Battleground. Or maybe they'll, extend it all the way up to SummerSlam and they have their first match there. But the way it's going now with them already pushing each other, I think we might see the match at Battleground, but who knows. Anyways, overall, just a good, very good Raw, actually. I'd give tonight's Raw like a 8.5 out of 10. Maybe even 9. 8.5 to 9, because, Jericho returns, AJ Lee returns, new Divas champion out of nowhere. And for us gamers, we also got the first sort of news for WWE 2K15 with the cover revealed. So, and also on the cover there was the new WWE logo, so it's the network logo on it. And actually, speaking of WWE 2K15, stay tuned for my 2K15 related videos, where I'll mostly go over, my wish list for the game. I'm hoping for a lot of things, especially now that they're, on next-gen consoles on PS4 and Xbox One. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, as always, you can click that like button down below. I'd really appreciate it. With that said, I'm out. See you guys.